Okay. Zok the Heilige Gemara. We are a couple of lines down, actually one line down from the top of Daf Tes Amud Aleph. The Amar Rav Yehuda Amar Rav. Talmud Chacham. A Talmud Chacham Tzarech Sheyilmoid Gimel Dvarim. Three things he needs to know. Number one is Ksav. Zok Rashi Lichtoiv. He needs to know how to write. Sheyeda Lachtom Shemoy. He should know how to sign his name. Ilu Yeshiv Vidin, if he's going to be a dain, or Edus, he has to be able to sign. What else does he have to know? Shchita. La'amin yodei lakach. So it's not just enough to learn the halachas. He has to practice to know how to shecht. Afilu shaboki bilchasa. And the third thing is mila. He has to know how to be a moil. There's a famous word they used to say, Rav Moshe Feinstein, anybody who had a shayla would call him. So he said, to be a Rav today in America, you only need my phone number, and you have to know Hilchas Shabbos, and you have to know Hilchas Sefer Torah. Because if you're standing by a Sefer Torah and you have a shayla, you can't call me. And on Shabbos, even if you call me, I'm not going to answer. So those halachas you have to know. Rav Chanina bar Shlamya mishmei de Rav Amar af kesher shel tefillin. You have to know how to make the yud that's in the back of the head. There's certain Rishonim will learn it's a double dalid. So it's not it's a dalid. The dalid in the back of the Rishonim referred to as a double dalid. So you have to know how to do that. Ubichas chasadim. If you're going to get a bracha under the chuppah, you have to know how to make the brachas. Vitzitzes. Ve'idach Rav, who doesn't mention these items, hani shrichen. They're very common. Everybody knows them. I hear. Zogt Toisvis, a very interesting Toisvis. Ve'idach hani shrichen. Kedamar tefillin bei bar chavu. Tefillin you can get from bei bar chavu. Mashkech shrichi, that's where you can find. Mikan medaktik Rabbeinu Tam. Rabbeinu Tam is medaktik from this Gemara. The ein tzarech likshar b'chol yoim tefillin k'shemanichal. You don't have to make a new knot. Sherabeinu Elio hayamatzach l'koshvan. Rabbeinu Elio held you have to redo your dalet or your mem every single day. If that's the case, everybody would know how to do it, right? So obviously that's not the way it is, and so Tosfos has a discussion whether or not you need it. Tosfos says he brings it out from a Gemara that you're not allowed to do on Shabbos because it's a kesher shel yoma, but if you do it every day, it wouldn't be a kesher shel yoma. Then you should be able to do it even on Shabbos.
That type of kesher?
Yeah.
Not for the tefillin itself, but...
No, for the tefillin itself. That's not what Tosfos says. Tosfos says, "Umafarish b'Gemara the chadash kari she'eni mukasharish from haya also likshar ulahat b'chol yom imkein lo have a kesher shel kayama." It wouldn't be called if you open it up every day.
But on Shabbos you're not going to open up.
But I'm talking about would you be able to do it? Mash with the also likshar kesher shel tefillin b'Shabbos mishum davar kesher shel kayama. But if you had to make the new knot every day, it would have been mutter to do on Shabbos because that wouldn't be a kesher shel kayama. Zog the Gemara weiter.
Isn't kesher yom depending on...
From here we see not.
No, if you had das to leave it that way?
Well, yes, if you're doing it every day, you have das not to leave it that way. If you're going to be making a new knot, so then you das not. Zog the Gemara, Rab Chananya bar Shlamya mishmei de Rav Omar af kesher shel tefillin u'birchas chasanim v'titzes v'idach hani shrichen. V'yam Rabbi Yehuda Amar Shmuel kol tavach any shoichet she'einu yedei hilchas shchita who doesn't know hilchas shchita asur lechal mishchitasei azah shoichet tarminish esem v'zan shchita. Zog the Gemara ve'eluhein, what are the halachas of shchita? I'm sorry? We're going to see. That's a good ha'ara. Ve'eluhein shchita shehiyah drasa chalad hagrama ve'ikir. So shehiyah means if you pause, you have to constantly be moving the knife back and forth. If you pause, that passes. The Gemara is going to discuss how long that pause has to be to passel. Drasa means you're pushing on it. Chalada means that you dip the knife in and then you cut the simonim, one or two. In other words, it's kachuld, it's hidden. It's like a mouse hiding holes. You're doing the shechita has to be unplugged, open. So if the shech cuts from the neck up, it opens up as he does it. Everything can be seen. If you just stab the knife in before the simonim and then cut, so then it's all hidden. B'shas ma'aseh. Yeah, that would be chalada.
Doesn't cut the surface of the neck.
Correct.
Does he have to cut that at all? Does that have a meaning?
It would be chalada if it's possible if you don't.
Yeah, but does it have a meaning that should be kosher shechita,
Why wouldn't it be kosher? You cut the simonim.
but you're not, oh, just the saman.
Yeah. Hagrama means you're out of bounds. So there's a certain area in the neck that the shechita can occur, and if you do it out of that area, that would be a grama. And ikar means if you dip the knife in, instead of cutting the simonim, you would tear them out. So frek toisvis, if that's ikar, so it's not a psul in the shechita. You didn't shecht it. It's like shooting it. Shechting means you're slicing the simonim. You rip them out. Ripping them out is not shechita. So why is it a psul in shechita?
Did you cut the saman by doing that?
You ripped them. Yeah, you ripped them. You yanked them out and tore them.
And tore them.
Yeah,
So then-
but that's not a shechita. V'tema dein ze shaykh l'chol shechita. There's a problem if they shaloi shachtoi.
Why, you said it's not kosher,
Because shechita means cutting it with a knife, not ripping it out without a knife.
but you ripped it, how do you end up ripping it?
You can rip it out with anything. But it's not shechita. So Zok Toisvis, in Rashi, that it's speaking with the second had a pagam. So you're making a regular shechita, but the pagam gets caught and chaps it, and that's why it's called ikar. But that's, at least it's a maisha shechita, but it's a maisha shechita of the psul. Break the Gemara, my kamash malan kulutaninu. What is the chidduv of Shmuel? The Mishnah tells us what the psul shechita are. I need Shmuel to tell me the psul shechita.
It still doesn't help the Toys's problem,
Why?
because he's still ripping it out. So how
But
many-
at least it's an action of shechita. It's not ripping it out. Not even shechita. You're ripping things out. It's shechita. It's like shooting in the head. At least you have a chal. If you go back and forth, at least it looks like you're doing a shechita. Zok to Gemara, my kamash malon kulutinu. Zok to Gemara, and this is to answer Chaim Shaila. Lo tzricha sheshachat lefanenu beis v'gimel pamim. Itaka didn't know the halachas, but he shechted for us 2 or 3 times, and we see Mamish does a perfect job. V'shachat shapir. So Mal de Tema, Mida Idich Shachat Shapir, his samples, he did a perfect job on. So we can assume, well, he knows how to shach. Tainami Shachat Shapir. And he'll do it right. He might not know punkt halachas, but he knows what to do. Kamash Malon, Kivan Legomer, Vibalt Akenish halachas, Zimnin de Shoy Vidoris, Velo Yada. He might do a psul, and he won't realize that it's a problem. You have to be conscious about it. It can't be punkt, you happen not to do it that way. Zog to Gemara weiter. V'am Rabbi Yehuda Amar Shmuel. Hatabach tzorich sheyivdoik b'simonim la'achar shchita. After the shchita, the shochet has to open up the neck and make sure the simonim are cut. I remember when I used to go for kaparas down to the shlachtos, the shochet would like bend open the neck to make sure he cut that, and he checked. I think the vreeden as well, but he made sure he double checked his work. Rabbi Yosef af anan nami tenina. I'm going to show you a brisa or a mishnah that's mashma from there that there's a din of bedika simonim. Because the Mishnah says, Reb Shimon Omer, im shah kadei bikur, Reb Shimon was talking about how long would constitute the psul shia. How long is it? It's the amount of time it takes to check. Check what? It's mashma that there's a chiv to check. There's an item called checking. What is this checking that's required? My love kadei bikur simonim. And if you pause in the shchita, the amount of time it would take to be baiting the simonim, that would be shia. That's not necessarily what it means, biker. We know there's a mitzvah you have to show the chalav to the rov. Even if you know it's good, you have to show it to the rov. I'll cover it for the rov. So the amount of time that it takes to show your chalav to the rov. Correct Gemara, what does that mean? What if the rov is not there? So you have an hour to make shia because it would take you an hour to get to the rov and back. We just means that Tabach Chacham, how long does it take him to check a knife? It's mamish a couple of seconds. So he himself, if he himself is a Tabach, so he's checking himself. So basically what it means is the amount of time it takes just to check the knife. Yeah, so it takes a couple of seconds. Not even. Loy Badak. What if he was not Badak B'Samanim? We don't have a raya, you have to be Badak B'Samanim. The Gemara ends up not having a raya, but Lamaisha, that's what Rabbi Huda Mishmuel told us. What if he didn't? So now you don't know, and now you don't have the samanim anymore. So you don't know if he shechted the samanim properly. My what's halacha? Rabbi Eliezer ben Antigonus Mishum Rabbi Lozer Rabbi Yanai Amar Treifa v'asur b'achila. Now this right away is a little bit hard to understand because if we're chayshu that he didn't shech it properly, then it's an avela, not a treifa. So Vasav is only a treifa.
If he didn't.
Well, if we're parceling it because we're afraid he didn't check it properly, then treif is tam come to shanainda. Either it's kosher or it's an avela. treifus nicht her. But we have a brisa that says nevela umatama b'masa. So Tosfos speaks out over here. Vasur b'achila zok Tosfos mishum deroiv pamim shoichet shaper. Really, you can go bas roiv that the shechita was good and he cut the simonim. V'shoyim midaraisa, and really it's mutar midaraisa lo yechmiru lasis nevela. Therefore, v'balt it's only a chashash. They gave it a din of a treifa, not of a nevela, so it would not be mitama. I'm sorry? That's correct. That's why they said treifa.
The minig is that they check the challah to make sure that there wasn't any pagia in the challah.
They checked the halv after the shechita.
After the
That's correct. That's what we're going to learn tomorrow. In detail, we're going to learn that halacha. Zok the Gemara, because there's a chashash that when the knife was cutting the skin, the hide of the neck of the animal, that would have been hard enough possibly to make a pecan.
So what they do is today they check 1,000 chickens, and then they stop for a second. They check the challah, and if there's no pagia, they let the 1,000 chickens through. And if they do found the pagia, they take all the 1,000 chickens and throw it in the garbage.
They can give it to the guy. They can send it to the
they send it to the guy.
What's the machlokes? With Rav Huna, they're arguing about Rav Huna's halacha. The Omar, Rav Huna said, "Behema b'chaya b'cheskas isur emedes." A behema when it's alive is also why it's aver minachai. Now it has a cheskas isur. So Mamela, in order for you to take off that cheskas isur, you need to be 100% sure, in fact, that the shechita was done properly. That's why you got to check the simonim. But what if it was nishchita? You know it was shechted properly. It was a kosher shechita. So now it lost its cheskas isur. Then arei becheskas heter, we can assume it's not a treifa. So what's the shaila over here? If you didn't check the simonim, if it's in the Vela or Treifa, either way, we agree it wasn't Jivad Alach Pamanishchata. We're not sure it was shechted properly because you didn't check the simonim, right? The question is Mar Sovar Becheskas Isser Kaima. It had the chazaka of Isser, right? It wasn't Kushak, it was Abram Nachai. And now it's dead. Vashta Mesai. So if it has a Cheskas Abram Nachai, now it's dead, and no Shechita occurred, obviously to the Vela. Umar Sovar, no. Becheskas Isser Amrinon. Becheskas Toma lo Amrinon. It didn't have a Cheskas Toma. It wasn't Toma El Tevim Menachai. So it never had a Cheskas Toma. Therefore, you only give it Cheskas Isser. We need to understand.
You have to check this. What does he have to check?
To make sure they're cut, I assume.
The dog is about chicken.
But you got to check, double check. You got to be sure.
Seems that they would just think that the skin caused the gum. That's why behemoth, not chicken.
Oh, about behemoth,
Yeah.
Zok, the Gemara talks about it. We'll see tomorrow. Yeah. Zok to Gemara. We have a very big problem over here. Because what is this chazaka? What is the chazaka that the animal has before it's killed? It's also it's Ever Minachai. If it's killed, it's not Ever Minachai anymore. So what do you mean until it's a chazaka? It loses its chazaka Ever Minachai. So what's the problem over here? So let's have a look at Rashi. Zok Rashi, Behema b'chaya b'cheskas isser, sharei asura mishum Ever Minachai. Hilchach de'eber, im doy letzavik b'shchita, uba salamida al cheskasa. Sherry, the normal rule is b'chol davar ato eimer hamid davar al cheskasa shayim etchila shein yochal lo yitzia mimeno. You cannot remove something from its chazaka al yidei safek. Nimtus eimer shebehem is asur. This must be asur. Sherry b'cheskas isur hoys etchila when it was alive and it was ever minachai. Umisavek atabol atira with the shchita shema nishchata karo al tatiran misavek at shivadalach shenishchata karo. The problem is feganal rishonim. There's no chazaka here. The cheskas is Ever Minachai, and you for sure broke the chazaka of Ever Minachai. So because of that, I'm sorry. Oh, so zog in the Mefarshim, Rashi holds that mechaskina on my isur leisur, even though it's changing from an isur Ever Minachai to an isur nevela. That's called the chazaka. you could say that the chazaka didn't change the animal's usher, even though the isra changed, but mechaskina may isra isra. But many Rishonim argued. So it argues, how are you talking? It's not a chazaka. Zogt the other Rishonim that it says in the pasuk tizbach v'yochalta. There's a mitzvah of zvicha. This animal has a cheskas ein zavuach. The cheskas ein zavuach is sai when it's alive and sai when it's dead. So that is the machlokas, whether or not you say mechaskinon may isser l'isser. I'm sorry.
I saw somebody shecht. So
I'm sorry.
I shechted it.
You saw what looked like a shchita, but if the simonim aren't cut, that's not a shchita. So that's the machlokes. This is a big yisod. This is the machlokes. If mechaskinon may isser l'isser, or if it's the same chazaka of cheskos and hizvuach. Zog the Gemara vater. Gufa. Amar Puna. Behema b'chaya b'cheskos isser medes at sheyivod lach b'menishchada nishchada b'cheskos heter medes at sheyivod lach b'menitraba. Frank the Gemara. There's no suffix. After you shecht an animal, there's no suffix. What do you mean there's a suffix and therefore a matter because it's b'cheskos heter? There's no suffix here. You shechted it, it's a kosher animal. The name v'leima nishchada hutra. Once it's shechted, it's mutter. Hakamash malon. It must be that even though something comes up that I have to be choishish, then maybe to treifa, I could rely on the chazaka. And then I need a chazaka to clarify a suffix. Kamash malon. The avagav, the isyalad bareisa, even though there's a reisa in its status of health, maybe it could be a treifa, it's still going to be mutter because of the chazaka. What would happen if you shechted an animal, and after you shechted an animal, bazaev v'natal b'nei ma'ayim, and took the b'nei ma'ayim, the kishkis? Ma, what's the halacha? I don't know what the problem is. What's the shaila? Natal, he took it, the lesson, it's not there. So what's the problem? The zaev took intestines of an animal after it was killed.
So you shouldn't not be.
What? There's no shaila here. What? Huna asked Rabbi, what are you asking me? What's the problem?
I mean, you can rely on the chazaka.
There's no problem. That's right. There's no reason to assume it's a treifa. Ella, there's more to it. Ella nokav b'nei ma'ayim. The b'nei ma'ayim had holes in it. Mahu. What would be the halacha? Frag the Gemara, if the zaev made a hole in the b'nei ma'ayim, so then what's the shaila? Hakach asinon the hunek vinu. You saw that the zaev made the holes in the b'nei ma'ayim after the animal's dead. Vater, it's not a problem. Ella, this is the case. The zaev came and took the b'nei ma'ayim, notlan, v'chziron kashay nekuvim, and the animal, the zaev brought them back, and they had holes in it. Now the question is, where do these holes come from? Mao michai shinon shema b'mokav nekev nokav. Maybe, even though the zaev is holding on to it and he's making holes, maybe there were holes there even before on that same spot, or not. And Taisvus builds up the shaila. Taisvus says, even if there's many more holes in the B'nai Ma'ayim that don't align with the teeth of the Zev who's holding it in his mouth, mistaver de talinan kulu b'zev, kehecha de mechsherin and hecha de memash m'shayada de tafcha. I don't know what that case is, we'll see on Daf Mem Tes, but Taisvus is saying the chiddush is even if there's more holes than just the holes that are now from the teeth of the animal. Because maybe the animal held it in other places later on, before. The animal the Zev would have been playing around with it, bit it a couple of times as it's moving it around. Okay, so that is the halacha. Eisvei frek the Gemara kasha. So what we're saying is, you could be soymech on the chazaka, even though there's a reisa, there's a shtickle sofek noiler here, whether or not it's paid with a treifa, you could be soymech on the chazaka, that it's going to be kosher. Eisvei, what happens if ra'at tzipor hamanakar b'teina? You see a bird that's pecking at a fig, so there's holes in the fig. Pashas, the holes are from the pecking of the bird. Or v'achbar hamanakar b'avatichim, or a mouse picking away at a watermelon. So there's holes there. Who made those holes? Is it possible that these holes were there before the tzipor and before the achbar got there, and they were made by a snake, and maybe there's venom in these hairs? The halach is choishishin. Yeah, you can't eat it. Choishishin shema b'mokim nekev nokav. Maybe the same hole that you see the bird playing with and the achbar playing with, maybe b'mokim nekev shal nochash noka also mishum sakonish nefashos. So she's not saying on the chazaka. Amerlei mika medamis isur l'sakanta. You can't compare isur l'sakanta. Sakona shiny. Sakona avada were more machmer. By isur avada can be saying on the chazaka. By sakona you can't. Did you ever wonder? Do you know that if you fill up a whole cup of the venom of the most poisonous snake around, a king cobra, a black mamba, and you drink it, you know nothing will happen to you? Venom is not poison. Poison kills you by eating it. Venom kills you if it gets into your bloodstream. So I've always wondered why there's a teretz is. Most likely the worry is if you have any cut or abrasion and you drink it, it'll poison you. Otherwise, I don't know what the whole issue is. But that's probably what it is. We have to be worried that maybe you have a cut somewhere.
That's why the bird was drinking it.
So I asked, wait till watch the bird. Yeah, but it's there's a lot of animals that are resistant to snake venom. So could be you have to eat. And I know honey badgers, and it's more than that. Even horses. Do you know how they make antivenom? How do they make antivenom? How do they make venom? What do they do? You know what they do? They inject venom of a snake into a horse. The horse has antibodies. It gets stuck inflamed, but it doesn't kill the horse. And the horse has antibodies that come and attack it, and they take those antibodies, and they make that. That's why it's so expensive, because to make it, you need venom. Okay, in our area, the hospital that has the most antivenom for rattlesnakes is the hospital in Midland. Why? Because there's an island, a federal park, off the coast of Midland that has the highest concentration of rattlesnakes in North America. I've been to that island many times. I've never seen a rattlesnake because they don't come where the people go. But there are, from time to time, there's a snake bite there, and the Midland is close by. They have the antivenom there. It's called Beausoleil Island. It's an island in Georgian Bay. So Zok to Gemara back there. What's the raya? Isur l'sakanta sakana shiny. Amalei Rava. So Rava said, I don't understand. Mehechatesha sakana shiny. Maishna sofik sakanta l'chumra. Sofik is not l'chumra. The sofik is in the Rashi go l'chumra. So why mehechatesha that venom is more chumra? So therefore, I do have a raya that you cannot rely on the chazaka from choshin shem b'mokim nekav nokav, and maybe I shouldn't be able to. He's asking Reb Zeir, maybe I shouldn't be able to eat that animal. Maybe I have to be choshin to treifa. Amar le Abaye, how could you tell me that there's no difference between sakanta and isura? V'loi shani ben isura sakanta v'ha ilu safek tuma, which is isur v'heter, right? Safek tuma we know Bereshus Harabim is fekei tar v'ilu safek mayim megula nasurin. So you see clearly a distinction between isur v'heter, which is not as chomer as sakanta. Amalei, a Rava said that's not a kasha. Hasam hilchas gamir lo misaita. That's a special gzeres akosov from saita. Ma saita was just a yachid because of course it wasn't in public. The suffix was that there was a nus in private between the two of them. Aftoma b'shus yachid. The only time you say sfekei tamei is when it's b'shus yachid. So that's a special gzeres akosov, and therefore you can't be mirai from that. Most of Rav Simi. So Rav Simi had a kasha. Sheretz b'fi chulda. The sheretz, which is tamei, a dead sheretz, which is tamei, is in the mouth of a live weasel, which is tahar. The chulda mahaleches al gabe kikra shel truma, and the chulda is scampering over kikra shel truma. The question is, did this truma become tamei? Sofik noga, sofik loy noga. The halacha is svekei tar. That we say is tar. So you see by Isra v'heter we say it's tar. The ilu sofik may magulin asurin. Zok to Gemara, that's not a raya. Zok to Rabba. Hasam nami hilchas u'gamir lo misaita. Ma saita dover sheyesh b'das l'shayel. The woman, you can ask her, were you chayta, were you metama? And she can answer yes or no. She won't want to tell you, but she has the ability to tell you. Af hachanami, so too, the only thing that you say, sofik tama is dover sheyesh b'das l'shayel. But the kikar can't answer you if it became tama or not. And therefore, it's tar. That's also a limud that we learn from Saita. So Mamela, you don't have a raya that in general, Isha v'heter is less chomer than sakanta. Omer Bashi Toshma. Shaluchas shehenicha magula. This little jug was holding mayim chaim that you're going to be using for the paraduma. So it's waiting for the ashes of the paraduma to be put into this mayim chaim. Uba umatza mechusa. And it was left uncovered, and then you came and you saw it was covered. So clearly a human tampered with it. We don't know if the human who tampered with it was tamei, or if he was tar. So therefore, tameya, we're machmer, we say it's tamei. Why? Shani oimer adam tamei nichnas l'sham. It's either an adam tamei or adam tar. We're chayshid that it's an adam tamei, and if the mayim chaim becomes tamei, then the it can no longer be used for the mei chatas. However, what happened? Because uncovered it over. What about if enicha mechusa? He left it covered. Uba matzah megula. So now it's lav dafka that a human touched it. An animal would also uncover it. An animal would never cover, but an animal could have uncovered it. So now, whether or not it's possible depends. If a chulda can get to it, many animals can get it, but we're not worried. The only animals that we're worried, because no matter which animal ate from this water, it wouldn't be a problem. Why should there be a problem? Just because an animal drank from the water? Whatever he drank, but whatever's left is still mayim chayim. But if a chulda drinks from it, Rashi tells us a chulda spits some back, or a nachash l'divrei Gamliel holds a nachash spits back, or sheyared bo tal balayla, or tal fell into it, which is not mayim chayim, then it's going to be psula. Rashi has two pshatim in what the problem with the chulda is. So one pshat is the chol hamaki poisel. If you spit it out back into the water, it'll be possible. The hoyel v'frishim and lishtois, it's nasa ben malacha. And we know that you cannot have mayim that's nasa ben malacha. Rashi doesn't like that pshat. And Rashi says, v'is the tali taima, from the mayim chayim ba'inot, because it says mayim chayim el keli, shedech yizum b'kli, shelo yimale kli zeh v'ya'ar b'kli acher, kodim kiddush. And you're pouring it over, right? Because if it goes into his mouth and goes back, it's like you poured it into a keli and you poured it back. So it's not mayim chayim el keli, because the mayim chayim left the keli and then came back.
The chulda is the mayim keli.
The chulda would be the keli. Right. Now Tosfos has an opinion about this. And Tosfos says, Tosfos doesn't like Rashi's first pshat. So Rashi says, I'm here. Pirish b'kundris beloshin achad the chalamaki poisel hoyel v'hivish men lishtos harei nasus ben malacha v'kashal liperushai v'chima malacha shayich b'shtia. It's not malacha. Why is it not? Why is it malacha? Why is it not malacha? V'nir loymar the kodim kiddush ari mifsali mishum d'lehava mayim chayim el keli, which was Rashi's second shot. Okay, gewaltig. Zog to Gemara weiter. So Zog to Gemara. V'omer Rabbi Shua ben Levi, and Rabbi Shua ben Levi wanted to explain. Ma tam? What's the reason? Zog to Rashi. What's the tam? Loy chayshin and shema adam tamei gilos of a titmacher. Sure, it's possible that it was an animal, but the same chash that when you left it uncovered and you find it covered, you're concerned that maybe an adam tamei did it, maybe an adam tamei uncovered it, and it's possible, right? Even if a nachash and a cholda can get to it, and even if there's no towel, maybe a person that was tamei touched it. Zok to Gehel Gemara, mipnei shedarken shel shrotzim legalois ve'ein darken lechasois. So what impact did that have? So it's Rashi beautiful. The Yavel Gav, the Odom Nami Darker Legalos. Yeah, it could be a person, but you go by Saroiv. Equal misli be Odom Tor, or Uvishrotzim L'Tair, and Odom Tamai L'Tamei. So you have three possibilities: a human who is Tor, a Sheretz, or an Odom that was Tamei. So you go by Saroiv. Talinam Basaruba L'Tair. But if you found it uncovered, if you left it uncovered and you covered it, now it's not shaykh that it was a chayah. Vein dagen lachazes hilchach reisha lekel misli b'shrotzim utmeim tahirim shchichi. You can't be told in a sheretz, but it's possible that it's a human who is tamei or a human who is tar. And therefore you're choshed that maybe it was a tamei human. So what's the raya from here? So Rashi Alma b'midi di Yisura. This is a question of Isra v'Heter, right? Did the Mayim Chaim, did the May Paraduma, did they get disqualified? So you see, you could be tolerant roiv, the shchichi, meaning shiratim and people that are tamei. So therefore, vilusavik my megula masurin shemamina chamira sakanta meisura shemamina. So this is proof positive that we're more machmer by sakana than we are by yisur. And therefore, even though if you're not sure if a snake bit from something or if it's just the mouse or the bird, that's going to be usher. But by trephis, you'll say that the hole came from the za'ev and it was kosher. Okay, Baruch Hashem, we were zeicha to finish Daf Tes, and tomorrow we're going to learn Daf Yud. So I want to share with you a beautiful word that you probably heard. We know that there were Asar Huig Malchus, Keneged Asar Shvatim who sold Yosef. But the Welt fragt, okay, Yosef and Binyamin weren't part of it, but neither was Reuven. Reuven wasn't there when they sold him. So really there should only be 9 Asar Huig Malchus. And then it wouldn't be Asar Huig Malchus. Then it would be Tisha Huig Malchus. So Vos Epis. So I'm going to read you a pasuk at the end of Parshas B'chukoisai. It says, V'chol Meiser Boker v'tzoin, kol asher yaver tachas hashavet, v'asiri kodesh Lashem. So let me show it to you inside so that you see, you could have what's going on. Let me just find the pasuk. It's right at the end of the parsha. Where are we here? We're in Bikul Koisai. Oh, here we go. V'chol ma'asar, boker v'tzoin, koil asher yaver tachas hashavet, hasiri lekodesh Hashem. I don't remember who said it. Maybe Chaim will know. It's from Sham Shastraboli. V'chi lama meis akiva shahaya roya boker v'tzoin, kol asher yaver tachas hashavet. 9 of them were taka keneged the 9 shvatim. But Asiri Rabbi Akiva, Yi HaKodesh Hashem. He was a Kodesh Hashem. What's that? What's that? Where's the Vuvchov?
First.
That's what I'm gonna say.
I hear.
Because they were shot at the Royal.
The kitchen and
What's that?
They were shot at the Burnham in the
That's right, so he couldn't tell anybody.
Kiva wasn't alive over Kiva.
Right.
Because he was a ger.
I was
He
able
wasn't there.
He wasn't from Shevet.
Ah,
He played this Hashem.
beautiful. No,
when I stand
not
up
about Cherem Field, yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
or
Okay, I get the vach.
what is